was operating at the behest of Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't really cover any of that shit. He didn't really give a fuck about that sort of thing. And like, I wonder what would have happened. I wonder what he would have said in retaliation. He would have given up Ukraine because they didn't give him dirt he wanted on Joe Biden? No, because, guys, no shot. Because ultimately, there is no way. Because, like, if it's the military-industrial complex's interest in Ukraine, then no fucking shot. Russia's aggression prior to Trump era benefiting Trump. No fucking shot would he have been able to stop like billions of dollars of weapons being sold and U.S. dollars being used on both ends of that bargain to Ukraine. I don't think that it was like, in my opinion, America doesn't do things specifically because they care about good or evil, you know, bad or right. They do it because there's money to be made for those in our most important manufacturing business, the military-industrial complex. So ultimately, I think that if Putin was slated to invade Ukraine, I don't think Donald Trump could have made enough like assurances that he wasn't going to meddle in the affairs, and he still could have been like, he still could have been interested in it, and therefore Donald Trump could not have stopped arms from being sent into Ukraine. There's no shot. Like, a lot of people say, oh, Trump loves Russia, hates Ukraine, but like, no, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Would never, ever be talking about Taiwan the way he's talking about it right now. And they didn't.
How is he talking about Taiwan?
They weren't talking about it. It was only after I left. He would have never gone in. Equally as...
So when people hear Trump say this, like, do they, like when liberals who are like, defend Taiwan liberals who are like, America's interests in Taiwan are honest and earnest and they just want independence for the Taiwanese people. Like, when they hear Donald Trump, do they go, oh yeah, and we think that's why we're voting for Trump, because he's going to be real fucking aggressive? Is that how that goes?
As importantly, oil prices would have been at $40 a barrel instead of $110 a barrel. So he wouldn't have been able to afford going in. He actually is the only nation that made money because oil has been driven up so high by stupid people like Biden. Biden is an incompetent man. And what happened is oil. In fact, you're going to hit a new high very soon again. That means Russia. Russia makes money from oil. Russia is going to make a lot of money. And because they're making a lot of money, there's no reason for them to settle other than humanitarian reasons. And let's not assume people are going to be so humanitarian. So Putin would have never gone in because oil was at $40 a barrel, and he wouldn't have been able to afford to have gone in. At $100 a barrel, he made a fortune. And that's one reason. The other reason he wouldn't have gone in is because I said, don't go in. Don't even think about it.
Just to that key question, though, Mr. President, do you think that our security, the United States security, is linked to Ukraine's security?
I think that Europe has to do more. We're in for $200 billion. They're in for $25 billion. And it affects them more than it affects us. It certainly affects them much more than it affects us.
So you do think that it's linked in some way?
I think Europe is taking advantage of a stupid president.
You've probably...
Look. Biden should say to them, you have to equalize, you have to catch up. You know, Europe is about the same size as our economy if you add them all up, add the countries up. It's about the same size. And Biden should say...
It's also funny because, like, he criticizes Joe Biden for using the reserves, which Trump correctly did, try to buy a shit ton of oil at like super low prices to really beef up our reserves, right? And of course, Congress said no to him, which is why it's always weird when he claims he actually increased our oil reserves, because he never did it. He wanted to do it, and the Democrats and I guess some Republicans maybe stopped him from doing so when oil was like basically fucking freemium. Okay, it was free free 99. And so that was like a weird thing that he talks about. Except Biden then used up the reserves, okay? And he's complaining about that too. And it's like, why are you complaining about Biden using the reserves? How would you have made oil prices low? How would you have done it then? Like, what are you supposed to do? Is there like a fucking oil price zero button? I don't get it. Because at the time, there were certain things that Biden could have done that he didn't do, which was, of course, pressure and threaten the oil corporations who openly stated that they are only interested in their shareholder value and that they are not interested in the broader American population's economic woes, and therefore they would not increase supply. They said that openly. We covered it at the time. So my frustration with Brandon at that time was to say, okay, then fuck you. I'm sending the fucking IRS after you. I am sending the regulatory bodies after you. I'm sending the fucking EPA after. I'm going to do everything I can. If you don't want to fucking increase supply, then fuck you. Okay, I'm going to put a mountain of red tape in front of you. He didn't do that, right? So the only other option was to use the reserves to try and adjust the price, which didn't really work out all that well. He also went to Saudi Arabia and talked to MBS, and that didn't work out that well either. I mean, I guess it's worked out a little bit better. But what could have Trump done? What was he going to do? What is Trump supposed to do better in that situation? Especially if he's also criticizing Biden using oil reserves. What is Trump going to do? He's not going to do shit. You think Trump is going to fucking talk shit about the oil and gas industry? Get the fuck out of here. He's a Republican. No shot.
Say to them, like I did with NATO. NATO, they all owed money. I said, get your money in. And we had over $430 billion put in almost immediately. And the head of NATO, Stoltenberg, Secretary General, nice guy, he said to me, most amazing thing I've ever done. And he said it publicly, too. He said, Bush would come in, make a speech and leave. Obama would come in, make a speech and leave. Trump came in and said, you guys aren't paying your bills. And I got him to pay. They asked me something, which hasn't been reported, but the media knows it. We had a meeting of the 28 countries at that time, 28 countries. And they said to me, are you saying, sir, because I said you got to pay your bills, are you saying, sir, that you won't...
He's like, I'm the most pro-NATO president of all time.
...protect us against Russia if we don't pay? I said, sorry to tell you, that's what I'm saying. You know what happened?
Yeah.
They started sending us money and I was never given credit for it, but you wouldn't even have a NATO if it wasn't for me.
Let me ask you, Mr.
But here's the
President,
thing.
about
the
your
European
strategy.
countries have to start paying their share because we are having to do with Ukraine. Because we're at 200 billion and they're at 20 or 25 billion. It's so unfair.
Let me ask you about your strategy, though, because you have said you want to end this war in 24 hours. You saw the meeting between Kim Jong-un and President Putin. Do you think that complicates your strategy if you were reelected to try to end this war in 24 hours?
It would have been easier if the war didn't start and you'd have hundreds of thousands of people living, most importantly. But it would have been a lot easier if it didn't. But I can get it done, and I can get it done quickly.
How do you do it?
There's another example. You talk about Kim Jong.
You
talk about Kim Jong-un, right? Mm-hmm. I got along great with Kim Jong-un after the first month or two when we were sparring, but I got along great with him. We were in no danger. There was President Biden said, and he felt even now, and President Obama told me when we sat down. Obama told me, and Biden still to this day, except I don't think he knows he can't put two sentences together. But President Obama told me, our biggest threat is from North Korea. We're going to end up in a war. We didn't end up with a war with North Korea. We were going to make a deal. I would say I would have had a deal made with North Korea shortly after the election, had the election not been rigged.
How do you end this war, though? Talking of deals, how do you end this war in 24 hours?
I can't tell you exactly, because if I did, people understand. If I tell you exactly, I lose all my bargaining chips. I mean, you can't really say exactly what you're going to do, but I would say certain things to Putin. I would say certain things to Zelensky, both of whom I get along. Don't forget, Zelensky did something that was very honorable. They asked him, it didn't stop these animals from impeaching me, but, you know, one of those things. They asked him, did Trump do anything wrong? He said, absolutely not. It was a very normal phone call. You can't say that about Biden's call because...
Wait, what? Yeah, first of all, he can't say anything. You're the president, and you've already threatened to withdraw support, like military support. What's he supposed to say? It's a fucking client state, dude. This is why it's always funny when people are like, Hasan, what about the autonomy of Ukraine? It's like, bro, what do you mean? Like, in a conversation where we're doing like American interests versus Ukrainian interests, like Ukrainian interests are not even on the table. Like, no one cares about that on the American side. I know that's hard to hear, but if Americans cared about the Ukrainian interests, they would have instituted a no-fly zone like Ukraine has asked for. If Americans cared about the Ukrainian lives, they would have allowed Ukraine into NATO before they allowed, you know, Sweden and Finland into NATO, right? Like the Ukrainians have asked for. It's just Americans don't give a shit. Like, the American government doesn't give a shit about Ukrainian lives or Ukrainian interests. But a lot of that stuff, everybody kind of understands. Americans have also time and time again, or at least people in the American government, have also time and time again regularly stated that they think it's a great fucking thing that is happening in Ukraine, where for 5% of the military budget, they've been able to undermine a foreign adversary of strategic importance, Russia, and their entire military power by just spending 5% of the American military budget. This is not my sentiment. This is Chris Murphy, Connecticut. Like, he said that. You know what I mean? They openly state it. They openly state it all the time. They think it's a fucking great situation that they will fight. They will fight down to every last Ukrainian. You know. So yeah, forgive me if I don't believe that the American government's interests in Ukraine are genuine, and that Ukraine's interests and the Ukrainian leadership's interests are completely secondary to the conversation, which is why Zelensky will say things like, oh no, at the top of the hour, there isn't a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, you don't have to subscribe, which he'd be wrong on. You do have to subscribe at the top of the hour because there is a 3-minute ad break. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Bad take. Why would NATO put Ukraine in when they're at war? That would mean NATO is immediately at war. First of all, there were many years where the West claimed that they were going to give Ukraine NATO membership, and they never really were interested in doing so. Okay? I hate that, like, people come in here and try to explain to me what the situation is when the majority of Ukrainians wanted Article 5. The majority of Ukrainians wanted a no-fly zone. The majority of Americans wanted a no-fly zone. At the time, I obviously explained to you why it wasn't going to happen, because it would have been devastating. It would have been actual fucking hot war between two nation states with nukes. Okay? Don't try to explain it again to me. I know. Motherfucker acted like Ukraine applied during the war? What do you mean? Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's not like Ukraine was like, oh, yeah, let's fucking join NATO now that there's war happening. Like, no, they were asking. They were asking for a very long time. Oh God, if we send one big package instead of $5 billion every month for years, this would be over much faster and less deadly. We're giving them a drip feed on purpose. I don't even agree with that necessarily. But yeah, let's keep going.
Biden, what he did was horrible with the prosecutor, but he said something that was very honorable. He could have grandstanded and said, oh, I felt threatened. He said that President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong on the phone call.
Some people hear you say you're going to end the war in 24 hours, and they worry that means President Putin is going to get to keep the territory he's unlawfully
I'd make a fair
claimed.
Deal for everybody. Nope. I'd make
Doesn't mean that? Wouldn't be a win for Putin?
You know, that's something that could have been negotiated because there were certain parts, Crimea and other parts of the country, that a lot of people expected could happen. You could have made a deal. So they could have made a deal where there's less territory right now than Russia's already taken, to be honest. And you could have made a deal where nobody was killed. They had a deal. They would have had a Ukraine country. Now nobody even knows if Ukraine is going to be totally taken over. I will say this. Something's going on, and it's not good for Ukraine because the news is no longer reporting about the war, the fake news. They don't report about the war anymore. You don't find much reporting. That means that Ukraine's losing, okay? I see very little reporting from NBC, your network. I see very little reporting from NBC, ABC, from CBS, from anyone about the war. It used to be you'd go and you'd watch, even a couple of months ago, you'd watch all of this great strategy. The spring offensive never happened. Ukraine's spring offensive never happened because they were met with a wall of armaments and bombs.
President Putin's worried people are losing interest. President Zelensky's worried that people are losing interest in this war. As you're saying,
no, I'm just saying, I'm not seeing anything about the war anymore. To me, that means that probably because the press is fake and very discredited, that would mean that, look, here's my attitude on the.
I'm going to tell you right now, dude, the Ukraine shit on the Democratic side, if they try to make, like, I've said this a couple months ago, and every single time I hear Donald Trump talk about this issue, okay, every single time I hear him talk about this issue, I'm terrified that the Democrats are just going to, like, throw the abortion conversation away. They're going to throw it in the trash. They're not going to do another, like, student loan debt relief thing right before the election to really revitalize support, and that they're just going to be like, vote for us because we want to defend Ukraine more than the Republicans do. And if that's the case, like, Trump is going to win, okay? I am so terrified of that prospect. Like, I don't know. At that point, you have to be throwing on purpose. They won't. They're going to be like, abortion rights and Republicans hate books. Yes, I hope, because that is a winning message. Foreign policy is one of the least important things. There's no way they would give attention from abortion. They get more donations from abortion. I know, but, like, I don't know. They've done really dumb shit.
The war. I just want people to stop being killed. You know, I was asked by that ridiculous CNN group during my town hall, whose side are you on? I said, I'm on the side of people stop being killed. I don't want to see people killed. They're being killed by the thousands and thousands and thousands. And that's the side I'm on. I don't want, and you know what? People like that answer, to be honest. And I stay with that same answer. I want people to stop being killed.
I want to ask you about something President Putin said about you this week. I don't know if you've seen it. This was very recent. President Putin said, quote, "We surely hear that Mr. Trump says he will resolve all burning issues within several days."
Is a winning message, lies aside? Yes. And that's why the media keeps hammering him on it. And it's very fucking annoying.
Including the Ukrainian crisis. We cannot help but feel happy about it. What do you make of that? Do you welcome his support?
I like that he said that because that means what I'm saying is right. I would get him into a room, I'd get Zelensky into a room, then I'd bring them together and I'd have a deal worked out. I would get it.
I don't think the Ukrainians would agree. On what? Bro, who gives a fuck? We're talking about voting in the American elections. Like, what do you mean? Exactly. Okay, great. Like, that is completely irrelevant to the conversation. Like, what? Yeah, Ukrainians don't vote in the American elections. Like, what do you mean? Maybe I misunderstood what he was responding to. But if you're responding to, like, you know, the American elections and, like, being the Democratic Party cutting a message about, like, how much more they're going to protect Ukraine instead of the Republican Party, that's, like, the easiest way to fucking easiest way to lose the election. You know what I mean?
A deal worked out. It would have been a lot easier before it started. Essentially, for 4 years, I kept them from doing anything because, you know.
Oh, unless you're talking about Ukrainians won't agree to a deal with Russia, I think that Ukrainians would agree to a deal with Russia if America was the one pressuring them to do the deal, 100%. And if Zelensky was scared of the outside pressure that he was getting from other more nationalist elements in the country, then they would replace him. At this point, Ukraine, understandably, is entirely in the Western sphere of influence. It's over. Any kind of interest that Russia had in implementing like soft power or instituting like or putting in pro-Russian politicians in Ukrainian government, all of that's gone. Why is it gone? Because he's a fucking idiot and he invaded Ukraine and basically killed half of the people that fucking would have maybe been favorable towards Russia on the Eastern Front, which is the part of Ukraine that he fucking invaded. Okay? So it's just completely Jover on that front. But having said that, it doesn't matter. If America was like tomorrow, if America was like, Ukraine, you need to stop, especially now that there is no Russian sphere of influence and no genuine way that like Putin could exercise his authority over Ukrainians without the threat of state violence. There's no way. Like Ukraine is entirely in the hands of the Western sphere of influence, and therefore whatever America says goes.
You know what? I will tell you this. I've never said this. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. He would have never done it. But again, oil prices. He wouldn't have done it because of me, but oil prices. The prices were so high that he had so much money.
Do you think it's unacceptable to support China or Vietnam given how LGBT people are treated there? This is a good one, Chatter.
Money. So he had all this money to prosecute the war. The one who drove up the prices was Biden.
Given that President Putin has bombed maternity wards, 20,000 kids kidnapped from Ukraine by Russia, mass graves. Yeah. Do you
see? There you go. And this is how you know Trump is at least a better reader of the room than the dumbass like pushing Z MAGA communists online who are like, that's all fake news, actually. Okay? Even the guy who everyone says loves Vladimir Putin is at least smart enough not to be like, no, those maternity wards I saw, Steven Seagal went there. Love him, folks. Have you seen him? Big Aikido guy, Steven Seagal. He went there. He said there were no babies in the maternity wards. Okay, no babies whatsoever. He said, actually, the babies that were there were bad babies. Some of these babies, they got bad vibes, folks. You know? Even he knows not to fucking say dumbass shit. So you believe Putin called the strikes on maternity wards on purpose? What? It doesn't have to be on purpose, dumbass. What do you mean? Okay. Do you believe Obama fucking bombed the hospital in Kunduz on purpose? Like it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's the fucking wrong target. Here's a really great way to not do that. Don't fucking invade Ukraine or don't fucking bomb Kunduz in general. You know? What do you mean? What is the position that you have? That it's okay if it's on accident? If Russia does it? Like, what kind of fucking freak shit is this?
Welcome his support, his all but endorsement.
I agree with you. I just want to see how you would convince someone who thinks that way because it's pretty popular among, in parentheses, leftists. I agree with you on what front? I don't think you agree with me. I don't give a shit about like a military intervention in foreign nations given how LGBT people are treated there. Okay? That is insane because I know for a fact that military intervention in countries that have reactionary policies tend to make that country way fucking worse after said military intervention. Look at Iran if you want to get a better understanding of how this shit works. Okay? Also, it's not like America has a great track record of aligning itself with people who are totally fucking pro LGBT. Saudi Arabia is one of our greatest allies. Also, what are we doing? Are we going to bomb Florida? Are we going to fucking bomb Florida, chatter? When are we bombing Florida or Tennessee? Like, how about you fucking try to fix America first before, contemplating what kind of intervention we can engage in with Vietnam or whatever the fuck because you feel like they're not doing enough for LGBT rights. Fix Florida, motherfucker, okay? Fix the red states where abortion is illegal, okay?
Look, I had a very good relationship with him, and yet nobody was tougher on Russia than me. I stopped Nord Stream 2. You never heard of Nord Stream.
He's right. He did stop Nord Stream 2, which is very weird. He did. Biden bombed it, though, so he still wins on that front. Biden blew it up. He stopped it. Biden put it to a permanent end.
Nord Stream 2. That was the pipeline until I got involved. I said Nord Stream 2, people that were sophisticated, military people and political people, never heard of Nord Stream 2. I had it ended. The pipeline was dead. Biden came in and he approved it. There was nobody tougher than...
Just so he could blow it up. Just so he could blow it up. So he could demoralize his opposition. J.D. Pond Joe making the Hitlerite Germans freeze. Joe said permanent first world genocide. Yeah. He said Americans living in the imperial core. I'll show you what labor aristocracy means. Get back to work, Jack. Oh, yeah? You're going to feel like an Indonesian child working in a factory but doesn't have enough money to afford the shoelaces that he's putting in the Nike shoes. American workers are going to feel that pain that the Indonesian child feels. How about 34% inflation? Hitlerite Germany is going to freeze. We're going to stop that Russian gas coming into Hitlerite Germany. Get back to work, Jack. Bidenflation is going to make you hurt.
Than me with Russia, and yet I got along with Putin. Let me tell you, I got along with him really well, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. He's got 1,700 nuclear missiles, and so do we. But look, that's a good thing. Getting along is okay, but I got along through strength, and the war would have never happened. The war would have never happened. Now what's happened? It's so bad. The oil price is so high. It's hard to get it stopped. The oil price is so high. When he goes above $50 and $60 a barrel, he makes a lot of money on the war. Now, it's a humanitarian thing. It's a lot of different reasons. But I will get that war stopped very, very quickly.
I want to talk about another region that you talked about. Let's talk about another region you talked about, China.
Ooh.
If you were to cut a deal between President Putin and President Zelensky, do you run the risk of emboldening China to invade Taiwan?
No. Not at all. Because China, he's another one I got along to.
Dude, the media is so nutty, dude. God, I'm sorry. I know I'm the worst guy to talk about this because obviously I'm pro Vladimir Putin, according to many liberals online, and of course pro Supreme Leader Xi to many people. But like, why is the NBC News person on the side of like American intervention and promoting American jingoistic militarism on the fucking Meet the Press exclusive when talking to the reactionary alternative? Okay? That's fucking nuts. She's literally like, do you think a peace negotiation with Ukraine would embolden China to take over Taiwan? How does that not literally fucking break your brain? Always been like this? Yes. Always been like this. And it's especially fucking idiotic when, when thinking about like Blinken going to China and being like, Taiwan is a part of China. It's just we care about its autonomy and we're going to keep giving it military support. Like they're making it seem a different way than it actually is. You know what I mean? They don't even talk about that aspect of it. They rarely even cover that aspect of it so that, you just don't know and you're shocked. That's why I remember when Blinken came out and everyone was like, all the fucking NATO antis were canceling Blinken after he went to China for saying America's fucking foreign policy on China since the Nixon era. Here's the official position of the United States of America on China.
I reiterated the longstanding U.S. One China policy. That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful.
Who's Blinken? Abe Lincoln, dude. That's who. Abe Lincoln. Technically, it is Abe Lincoln. Yeah.
Resolution of cross-strait differences. We remain committed to meeting our responsibilities under the Taiwan Relations Act, including making sure that Taiwan has the ability to defend itself. We also spoke about a range of bilateral issues, including continuing to...
Look at this fucking tanky. Unapproved to any status quo changes is the truest thing to come out of any politician's mouth. Yeah, this fucking tanky, dude. You see this shit? You see this fucking tanky piece of shit 2 months ago? Secretary of State Abe Lincoln, dude. You see this fucking tanky? Fucked up, man. Hate that. Hate that. Hate this fucking tanky piece of shit. Imagine calling yourself a leftist and being to the right of the State Department. Yeah. Typical tanky garbage coming out of Anthony Blinken's mouth, dude. I hate the American government that is doing, now is third worldism, actually. The question the media cook up managed to make the State Department look diplomatic by contrast. It's insane. Yeah, because one is a permanent money, one is a permanent money blowing, money printing operation for the military industrial complex. The other one actually has to beg the military industrial complex to fund it. So they have to be way more aggro and way more reactionary. You owned you the other day. Are you going to debate him to win your credibility back? What are we talking about here? Brother, isn't your favorite streamer live? Like, why don't you go watch him? Why are you in here trying to fucking create controversies where none exist? Anyway.
To develop principles to guide our relationship, as discussed by President Biden and President Xi in Bali late last year. We exchanged views on our respective economic policies, including our concerns about China's unfair treatment of U.S. companies.
Anyway, the rest of it is just bullshit. Yeah, me and Ethan are no longer doing leftovers. It's over. Dan quit. Ethan quit. I quit. It's Jover. It's never been more Jover than ever before. As adults, as reasonable adults, we cannot have any minor, no matter how minor, we cannot have any disagreements whatsoever on any issues. It's done.
Till we had the China virus come in. Once COVID came in, okay, once it was like, I made a great trade deal with China, one of the greatest deals ever made for the farmers and for the manufacturers. $50 billion a year is a great deal. I don't even talk about it because once COVID came in, it was like, I didn't want to talk about anything. I was a much different person. What happened to this world, not our country, the whole world, what happened with COVID, and it just shouldn't.
So why are the military-industrial complex's interests directly undermining U.S. foreign policy towards China? Oh, make no mistake. I don't think the U.S. foreign policy towards China is one that, okay. I don't think the U.S. foreign policy towards China, like the way that Blinken is representing it there, is the same as how they're actually acting. Yes, the United States has what they call strategic ambiguity, which is, to the layman, lying. That's what they do. They are like, oh, we think that it's one China. Taiwan is a part of China, Chinese Taipei, but also they keep giving money and support and weapons to Taiwan. It's just simply that they no longer recognize the entirety of mainland China as belonging to Taiwan and the Taiwanese government being the true ruler of China in the way that it was originally designed in its inception. That's simply what it is. That's it. Strategic ambiguity. So technically, like I think that there are more powerful economic forces and interests at play with our relation with China that you cannot simply disrupt due to the interests of more reactionary elements that are aching for war. But that's, it's just, that doesn't mean that the American State Department is pro-China by any means.
It happened. It shouldn't have happened. What China did to the world was so bad. But I had a great relationship with President Xi. Really great relationship. And he was going to stop fentanyl from coming in. He was going to do he was going to criminalize it if you made it. In China, they have a death penalty for drug dealers. He was going to make that with fentanyl dealers, too.
I love that he loves China, but in, like, the bad sides of China. Like, whenever Trump is glazing up Xi Jinping, he never talks about the good shit like I do. Like, the death penalty for, I don't know, people who are willingly selling spoiled baby formula, you know what I mean, that killed babies. Like that's sick. Okay, killing the corrupt politicians that also facilitated and turned the other cheek, or turned a blind eye to like that continuing to happen. Like, that's awesome. I'm a fan of that. Please, let's do that here in America. At least jail time, you know what I mean? Or when the Evergreen shit was happening, the CEOs or the corporate board decided that like all the workers had to basically give money back so they could put together funds in order to put a down payment on their debt to show that they were taking this seriously. And then the Chinese government intervened and said, no, you're actually liquidating your fucking yachts and all of your assets, and we're actually taking all of your money instead and putting that as a down payment on the debt that you owe to the government. And that was sick. Like, that was a cool thing that China did. Or, I don't know, building insane amounts of fucking high-speed rail, even development. These are all good things that China has done and will continue to do. Not the execution of drug dealers.
But then the election didn't work out, and he never had to do that.
I know you've been asked this, but very quickly, if China were to invade Taiwan, have you made a determination, again, since voters are about to go to the polls, would you send the U.S. military into Taiwan if President Xi were to invade? President Biden says he would.
I won't say, because if I said, I'm giving away, only stupid.
I love you when he does this. I won't say. I'm not giving it away. I'm not giving the game away. Shh. Dude, I love that. It's so good.
People are going to give that answer. I heard the other day, DeSanctimonious said something about he was going to do this or he was going to do that. I say, well, why is he saying the strategy? You can't say that. So when you ask me that question, I would never say that, because you give away all your options.
But you don't take it off the table.
I don't take anything off the table, no.
If elected, you say you would order the Defense Department to use special forces to inflict maximum damage
I didn't
on
say
drug
that.
cartels.
No. People said I said that.
Okay, what would you do?
I didn't say that.
What would you do?
I wouldn't tell you what I do. Why would I say that? Because, again, you don't want people to know your strategy. Now, people said, they leaked and said things that I said this or I said that, or I was going to hit them with Patriot missiles, the drug dealers. And
it's pretty funny to be like, I don't want to disclose military secrets to our foreign adversaries. And then he was just like loudly yelling classified information at the fucking Mar-a-Lago buffet at lunch. And it was at a time when we all knew that like there were literal Chinese spies there. Because why the fuck wouldn't you send a spy to sit next to Donald Trump when you know his ass is blabbing on? Okay? I mean, fucking Kid Rock saw, like, the Iranian military maps, dude. Get the fuck out of here. He's like, I won't tell you. I won't tell you. It's a secret. It's like, what secret, dog? You fucking told Kid Rock. Child Diddler Rock, okay? He tweeted out before unseen spy satellite capabilities, the flags. I respect it.
Mexico. But I will say, and horribly, that they kill 250,000 people in the United States every year. You know, you never hear that number. You hear 100,000. I think it's much more. They destroy families because when you lose a son or a daughter to fentanyl, or a wife or anybody else, but when you lose a...
By the way, I'm not like here. Mar-a-Lago, a magnet for spies. Officials warn after nuclear file reportedly found. Former intelligence chiefs say national security officials are shaking their heads at what damage might have been done. At that point, it's like, it's your responsibility to send agents there, okay? I'm sorry. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, it's just free information. Why wouldn't you do that? Why? Like, what the fuck?
A son or daughter, your life is destroyed. Their lives are destroyed. They've destroyed so many families. It comes through Mexico. Mm-hmm. Something's got to be done. If we were in war, we would lose 250,000 people. We're losing more people than you lose in just about any war that we've ever had. And we lose them on a yearly basis. Something has to be done, and it has to be done fairly quickly.
Ron DeSantis says he's in this race to finish the border wall. What do you say to that?
Well, I built
voters?
500 miles of border wall. It was great. It was just what as you know, the Border Control Board and everybody else, Border Patrol. I had them in my office. I wanted to we were going to do concrete plank, 40 feet high. They didn't want that. They wanted you see-through. They wanted to be steel, concrete, and rebar. I did everything. I gave them the wall that they wanted. You know, we tested it. We had mountain climbers test the ones that's the wall we built. I built almost 500 miles of wall. We were then going to build another 200 miles of certain areas that all of a sudden people were coming into areas that they couldn't come into anymore. And we were all set to do that. It was all bought. And all Obama had to do, all Biden had to do, it could be Obama too, because a lot of people think he's calling the shots, so who knows. But all Biden had to do is go out and put it up. And he not only didn't put it up, he took it off the site and they put it in yards hundreds of miles away so that Texas and Arizona couldn't get it. I had the safest border in history. I had the best border in history. We had the lowest drug numbers for years and years and years, decades. We had the lowest drug numbers. We had the lowest human trafficking numbers. We had the least number of people coming across. All he had to do is go to the beach like he does all the time. If he went to the beach and didn't do anything, we'd have a great border right now.
Final question, Mr. President. You have met with prime ministers, kings, queens, dictators. You've seen it all. As you think about the possibility of a second term, do you still think that democracy is the most effective form of government? I
do, but it has to be a democracy that's fair. This democracy is, I don't consider us to have much of a democracy right now. They indict their political opponent. Free speech is shot because the press is very dishonest, I have to say. Even the way you fight me on simple questions like, you know, the border and this, you fight me so much. And I'm saying, why are you fighting me? Do you know, when I first ran, the approval rating of the media was very high, and now it's very low. It may be below Congress, which is pretty hard to believe. People understand what's going on. We need a media that's free and fair, and frankly, if they don't have that, it's very, very hard to straighten out our country.
Did you feel as president you had enough power, though? If you were reelected, would you try to find ways? For example, there's a report you're looking into firing potentially people within the federal government who aren't necessarily perceived to be loyal. Would you need more power? Do you
Well, just so you understand, that's what the Democrats do, okay? They do it in spades.
Would you do that?
They do it at a level that you wouldn't believe. I mean, nobody's ever done. No, I wouldn't do that. I want great people, whether they're Republican or Democrat. I want great people. But I want people that love our country, not people that hate our country.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think it's good. I think we did. We did a lot.
Is there any scenario by which because Ron DeSantis says if he were elected, he'd have 2 terms and you'd only have 1 more term. Is there any scenario by which you would seek a 3rd term in office?
No. Just so you understand, when DeSantis says that, that means he's not your man. He's not your man anyway because he's a very untalented guy, and he's proven that. He started out, everybody was talking to him. After I worked him over a little bit, he's gone down the tubes. I think he's going to end up being number 3 or 4. He just had a poll today. He was number 4. And by the way, the one that was number 2 was 59 points behind. So, you know, it's very interesting. But when somebody says 8 years, we need 8 years, no. In 6 months to a year, many of the problems, almost all of the problems that you and I have just spoken about will be solved. Anybody that says they need 8 years, you don't want that person.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
That's crazy. I mean, fuck you. The shaking his hands after all that. God, I hate the media. Fuck the media. Is Mark safe from the 4-hour Donald Trump meet press react of 2023? Okay, I'm sorry. I know it took me 4 hours, but it was very valuable to go through all of this, okay? It's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty fucking ridiculous not to cover this. 07 to all the troopers who stayed through this entire video. What do you want me to do? Not fucking mauled when Donald Trump goes on Meet the Press, one of the, you know, a pretty significant, fairly important, you know, news, a news junket, okay? He did it. All right, anyway, here, let's do some fun shit real quick. Erdogan, where's your wife?
I'm surviving, yeah. Nice bit
Topları mi? Yani öyle mi?
X.
Oh my God, he's calling him X. X. He's calling him by his name, dude.
You'll get friendly.
Please.
Police.
Where is your wife?
Where is your wife? Yo! Yeah, go ahead. Explain to him that she's fucking debating the sexual revolution with like a bunch of fucking fake tradcath podcasters and like a former New York Times columnist who started a failed university grift. Go ahead. It's so awesome.
She's in San Francisco. But we're separated. I take care of him mostly.
Şu an ayrı yaşıyoruz, o yüzden oğluma ben bakıyorum. Hasan abi anamız ağladı, ben anamız ağladı. Oğlum yapacak bir şey yok yani. Hiç yapacak bir şey yok kardeş. Tell him about your wife and her children. Well, he knows this one's name is X. He's like, X. X. Wait, what the fuck was he in Turkey for? Somebody told him Erdogan is culturally conservative and values family, and this dumbass decided that meant equipping a toddler like a buff item in a video game. Is it the Tesla factory shit? It's in New York? Wait, Erdogan's in New York right now? Chill, bro. Oh, at the UN General Assembly, at the UN? Anne. Erdoğan burada. Haberin olsun. Evet, Musk'la takılıyor. Do you think Erdogan knows who you are? Fuck no, and I want to keep it that way. I hope he does not know. Eve mi çağıracaksın? Ha, eve çağıracağım. Gel. Gel babalık gel. Erdogan asked Musk to build a Tesla. This is an ongoing thing for the record. They wanted a Tesla factory in Turkey years ago. It cited Musk as saying many Turkish suppliers are already working with Tesla and that Turkey was among the most important candidates for its next factory. A skyscraper near the end of United Nations in New York, Turkey state-owned Anadolu News Agency reported. Erdogan is in the U.S. to attend the 78th session of the UN General Assembly. Erdogan also said during the meeting that Turkey was open to cooperation on artificial intelligence and Starlink. It cited Musk as saying SpaceX wished to work with Turkish authorities to... Oh, God. You know what's really fucking annoying? Like, I can't even imagine, like, Turkey being, like, a BRICS country. I can see Turkey, given its unique position in NATO, being batshit fucking crazy. Turkey attends the BRICS meetings while in NATO. If there's only one fucking country that could do it, it's Turkey. There's no way you're unknown to the government. I never said I'm unknown to the government. I mean, I didn't say I'm unknown to the government. I just said Erdogan doesn't know who the fuck I am. And also, I hope not. Maybe it's not a great plan to call a guy bitchless, then ask him to build a factory in your country. Negging, perhaps? The lira is getting roasted. Fuck you, man. Dude, this is so bad. I just legitimately don't understand how, like, it just happens. Like, how life happens in Turkey. Milyarderler vergi ödemeli. Like, I don't get it. I ask my friends and my family all the fucking time, and they just seemingly have no response to it. Where basically they're just like, yeah, we don't really fully comprehend it. Oh. How do people's salaries work over there with the devaluation happening so fast? Brother, I don't understand. I don't know. I literally don't know. Especially because the Turkish economy is still pegged to the dollar. So, like, a dollar being, 26 lira, you would think wouldn't fucking matter, but it certainly does. Like, so it doesn't even... It's like a very odd situation where, like, it's not like food costs are kept, like, if a sandwich is 20 lira, okay, then it's still 20 lira. No, a sandwich becomes 100 lira. And what I don't understand is, like, it's not like wages have increased comparatively. Like, they have hyperinflation and no wage increase. So I don't know how the fuck people just survive. And there is a robust welfare state on top of that. There is a robust welfare state on top of that Erdogan has implemented, but, like, in a very classic, like, despot way where it's like directly tied to party support. Well, family size cereal is $9 here now. Man, don't, dude. American inflation concerns are nothing in comparison to Turkish inflation. Come on, dude. And it feels like everywhere outside of, like, not America, inflation in America is wild. And then you look at inflation everywhere else and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? How are they surviving? The real inflation is around 100%, but they say it's officially 40 to 50%, and they increase wages in that way, so people get poorer every year. Grizzled Amagi, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Yeah, man, shit's not looking too fresh. I mean, I suspect that there's a lot of black market, but wages did increase a little bit. They will keep people alive until local elections, and then 3 years of real pain until general election has always been like this. I just don't get. I don't personally understand, and I genuinely, because I haven't been back in so long, that I don't think I'll ever be able to understand exactly how the operation continues in the sense that, like, people still do legitimately vote for Erdogan. Like, nonstop. They vote for him in droves. It's like people love saying, like, oh, it's corrupt, it's corrupt, it's corrupt. But it's like, no, there's still popular support. You know what I mean? 100%. In this last election, make no mistake, it's very difficult to fully get it's difficult to get a good gauge in Turkey of genuine popular support because the polling system is completely fraudulent. Like, entirely. It's just you pay for a poll to show you whatever number you want to see, right? And the entire media apparatus is bought by Erdogan loyalists, so it's impossible to get a good assessment on that front either. And even with the earthquake, you thought, like, people genuinely thought, oh, okay, it's done. Like, this year it's finally over. And it was a major blow for the Turkish opposition. Internal production is the thing saving them from local consumption. I just don't know. I don't know. What is this?
So did you guys hear the U.S. Senate just eliminated its dress code because you got this guy from Pennsylvania who's got a lot of problems. I mean, let's just be honest, like how he got elected. Well, I mean, he got elected because they didn't want the alternative, but he wears like sweatshirts and hoodies and shorts.
Damn, anti-Turkish sentiment from Ron. Well, I was planning on voting for him, but he lost my vote. Let me tell you. He just kind of snubbed Dr. Oz, Dr. Mehmet Öz there. Did you guys see that? Well, people didn't like the alternative. Some Turkish guy.
And that's his thing. So he would campaign in that, which is your prerogative, right? I mean, if that's what you want to do. But to show up in the United States Senate with that, and not have the decency to put on proper attire, I think it's disrespectful to the body. And I think the fact that the Senate changed the rules to accommodate that, I think speaks very poorly to how they consider that. Look, did you guys hear the U.S. Senate just eliminate?
Yeah, Ron is tackling the real issues head on. Kevin McCarthy, if you're not willing to pass appropriation bills and you're not willing to pass a continuing resolution and you don't want an omnibus, I don't quite know what you want. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on GOP negotiations that would avoid a government shutdown. Key parts of the House Republican Conference reached a tentative deal Sunday to fund the federal government until Halloween, but it's unclear if the measure could pass the House, and it would likely die in the Democratic-controlled Senate.
Challenge. So every day is going to be a challenge. We got a long week. We're not September 30th yet, but the one thing I will tell everybody, I've never seen anybody win a shutdown. You only put the power in the hands of the administration. If you want to secure the border, pass Homeland. If you want to make America strong and secure, you pass the DOD appropriations bill.
He's such a lib, dude. He's like, we just can't do it. No wonder they hate him. Greg Gutfeld makes the senseless murder of a retired Nevada cop filmed by the teens who stole a car and deliberately ran him over, all about George Floyd. So What's really wild about this hit and run story that's been going viral on Twitter, which is, 4chan now, is that I didn't know anything about it until I saw Republicans like posting about it. And I guess because I'm a normal person, I'm a normal